Hello Guardians, welcome back to DTR. This is Wright Gaming, bringing you another weapon roll video. Like how I'm sat on the couch, I thought I was pretty clever with that. Today I decided we was going to start at Lakshmi 2, the Future War Cult. Nothing special here, but since we've only got a month or two left now until Destiny 2, if you haven't already got yourself a decent wormwood, because believe me, this thing destroys in Crucible, then I recommend picking up this week's because it's got Hidden Hand, Hand Loaded or Zen Moment, Armor Piercing Rounds or Hip Fire, and in all honesty you could use absolutely any of these perks because they're all going to make this gun pretty devastating. In fairness, I would use Hidden Hand, Hand Loaded and Hip Fire just because that's my preference. But if you're finding it hard to handle, you could easily go for the Zen Moment Hip Fire combo. Or if you want to just pack a punch, then you could add the Armor Piercing Rounds. This is probably the least effective perk on this gun, which is why I probably won't use it. It has True Sight and Sure Shot, which are the two main sights that you're going to want on any sidearm, just because they make the gun a little bit easier to handle and help with aim assist. That's the only real weapon I'm going to talk about from the Future War Cult, because you don't really have anything special this week, which is rare for Future War Cult. The next one I'm going to talk about is the Vanguard Quartermaster. Now, there's a lot of nice auto rifles out there this week at the vendors. I'm not going to cover them all, so if you want to check them out, then do so. Just round them up and go and look at them. But I'm covering the two most powerful ones. So the first one up is the Continental from the Vanguard Quartermaster. It has a quick draw or red dot. I'd use quick draw, focused fire or hip fire, all day long focused fire, because for some reason since the last patch auto rifles with focused fire hit like absolute trucks, so make sure you put that on. It then has perfect balance or pending magazine. You're not really bothered about your magazine size or reload, you want your perfect balance. You want this thing to handle nicely. And then lastly but not leastly, just like the God Roll Doctrine of Passing used to have, it has persistence, making the gun easier to handle the longer it's fired. I'm going to be buying this personally myself, just because I'm intrigued to see how it handles compared to the second one, which I'll be covering shortly. I think at the moment, I think auto rifles are in a really good place. I was using Hacken's Hatchet at the weekend and it was destroying for me. And I feel that this will possibly do better. So yeah, I'm going to try it out. Then next up, a lot of people will probably disagree with me on this, but the 7th Sense this week has a really nice roll. Now yes, it's a low impact high fire rate sniper rifle, but for those that don't mind using them sort of snipers, it has Hidden Hand, Snapshot, Life Support or Triple Tap. Now these perks, most people would be hunting for a long time or on a longbow or a LDR or a 1,000-yard stir. I mean, for example, I've still not had a 1,000-yard stir with these perks, which just shows how hard it can be to get this sort of sniper with these perks. It also has Short Gaze, Taxis 15 and Wild Hawk 20. Most people would probably use the SLH-10 Short Gaze scope, just because it makes it easier to handle in those short range situations. Them are the only weapons I'm going to cover from that guy this week. Lastly, we're going to cover the Crucible Quartermaster. And yes, he does have another auto rifle that I want to cover, and it is just as devastating as the Continental, and you'll see why shortly. Ignore the fact that I've got loads of stuff to hand in. I did a load of stuff at weekend and then didn't bother doing it.
Taken have crawled beneath the skin of our world.
Yes. So here he is, the Crucible Quartermaster. So Zero Day Dilemma is the second auto rifle that I want to cover. At first glance, the perks don't look great because it's showing these two, which, believe me, you're not going to be using. It has Sure Shot, great scope for this gun, absolutely great scope. It then has Focused Fire, again, like I said, meaning that this thing's going to hit like a truck. It has Braced for Aim and Counterbalance. Now, unlike the other auto rifle that I've just showed you, where you need to be firing it for a certain amount of time for the persistence to kick in, for it to handle better. This thing should handle from off the bat. It should literally fire like a laser beam from the minute you start pulling the trigger, just because that counterbalance reduces any sway in the gun, and brace frame reduces the amount of recoil kick that you will get from this weapon, especially when using focus fire, because it does add a bit of a kick to the gun. If you ever use Sheros regime, you know it's just going to be a little bit harder to control than most auto rifles. So yeah, I'll be picking up this one with the Continental and comparing the two and just seeing which one I like. Might end up keeping them both, I don't know yet. And then lastly, we have a really nice pulse rifle in the B29 Party Favour from the Crucible Quartermaster this week. It has reflex or quick draw. I personally use quick draw, you know, just a preference again. There's nothing major about these scopes. It has outlaw or life support. Again, these are more down to lifestyle choices, is what I'm going to say. Just because if you get plenty of precision kills and you're not worried about survival, you're going to use outlaw. Whereas if you take a lot of damage and you do move around a lot when you're fighting and engaging in battles, life support's probably going to be your biggest friend. It has then brace frame or feather mag. Personally, brace frame again, so that the gun handles nicely for me. And then rangefinder. Now, rangefinder is not normally a great perk to have on a pulse rifle, but if you're finding that it's hard on the bigger maps against the other scout rifles, this could change the game for you. So it'll also reduce the amount of damage loss at certain ranges with pulse rifles as well, because as much as they're longer range than auto rifles and hand cannons, they still have a cap to the range, which this will increase, which, like I said, reduces that damage drop off. That, ladies and gentlemen and guardians alike, is it from me this week. I wonder what the vendors will bring us next week. I'll see you then. Right, we're gaming. Over and out.